Our guest today is Balingit, the talented baker behind the Dusky Kitchen and author of Mayumu Filipino American Desserts Remixed. Known for blending traditional Filipino ingredients with modern baking techniques, Abby celebrates Filipino American culture through her innovative desserts. Um, Mayumu features 75 recipes that combine classic Filipino flavors with new twists, alongside personal essays that reflect Abby's cultural journey from Pampanga to California to now Brooklyn. During the pandemic, Abby gained recognition for her pasalubong treat boxes, which not only delighted people but also raised funds for COVID relief. Through her creativity and generosity, Abby continues to inspire and build connections. In 2024, earlier this year, she won the prestigious James Beard Merging Voice Award. Congratulations to you, Abby. I will be interviewing Abby about her book, recipe development, and her personal culinary journey. Following the interview, Abby will demonstrate how to make ube macapuno molten lava cakes, and then we will wrap up with Q&A. Okay, so now I will stop share. Okay. So, Abby, thank you so much for being here with us today. I love to hear the inspiration behind your cookbook, Mayumu. What motivated you to write it? And what does Mayumu mean? And how did you decide on that title?
I started baking kind of on social media. I've been a baker since like I was 13 for fun. But basically like during 2020, I know everyone was baking, but for me, it felt like a lot of it was the first time I was baking, doing like Filipino American flavors that I grew up with. I think I was super nostalgic. My family, they're based in California. I live currently in Brooklyn, New York. So I was really thinking about them like very fondly and everything I had growing up. So I started posting on my blog, The Dusky Kitchen. And then honestly, like it was very early on into that process. Basically, August 2020, I started the blog. Then September, I posted another thing that like I was making. And then my litter agent found me over Twitter because I was just posting about like these Lao Ganma chili crisp cupcakes I was making. And they're like, "Oh, are you thinking of writing a cookbook?" And I really hadn't thought of it at all. And it was kind of like a nice thing to think of as like a possibility. And I like was like, okay, I like immediately like DM'd them back, and it's kind of a whirlwind, but basically we met over Zoom. We did everything over Zoom. And I named the book Mayumu because it means sweet in Kapampangan. So my parents are from Pampanga and they speak a different language than Tagalog, which is what a lot of people think of when people think of Filipino languages. But there's so many in the Philippines, and I think this is one of them where Mayumu means sweet. Matamis in Tagalog is sweet. So very different, but I just wanted to pay homage to my parents and my family and my background. But I wonder if I answered all the questions. But honestly, yeah, that was 2020 up until 2023, my book came out. So it feels like a multi-year process. And then winning the James Beard Award, it feels like another wonderful part of this like 4-year journey. So very grateful to be here with y'all to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Abby. It's clear that Mayum is not just a cookbook, but a
Yeah.
reflection of your journey and celebration of Filipino food culture. Now, moving on to something I'm sure many of our viewers are curious about. During the pandemic, you created pasalubong pastry boxes to raise funds. Can you tell us about the concept of pasalubong boxes and the special significance they hold in Filipino culture?
Yeah, well, pasalubong means kind of like souvenir in Tagalog. But basically, every time you go somewhere or you go back to the Philippines, you usually bring pasalubong, which sometimes it's like Lindt chocolates or like Irish Spring soap. Very like anything that's basically like a gift from wherever you're coming from to people you're going to see. And so every time like I think of like the desserts I made during that time in the pandemic, I was basically like, making little gifts for everyone that I wanted to show a piece of like home to them. So yeah, Pasalubong feels like a very, just like a nice concept of a home and like generosity and kind of giving support to people that like, a little memento of something that you love for someone else you love too.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Abby. Pasalubong boxes truly embody such a beautiful tradition in Filipino culture. I love how they bring people together and really show love, connection, and thoughtfulness. Now, I love to dive a little bit into the role of desserts in Filipino culture. Can you share more about the importance of desserts in Filipino culture and how they have influenced your recipes?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like in like at least my family, I grew up in a very big Filipino extended family as well. Like I when until I was 5, I lived with like aunts, uncles, my Lola, all growing up in like one home. So like about 12, 13 of us, like in one like very small, tiny home. But what I remember the most is kind of having merienda and like those basically snacks all throughout the day, usually more so in the morning, but like pandesal, which is like basically like bread that you dip sometimes in hot chocolate or in your coffee, like all adds to, there's different types of pandesal you can get to. So ube pandesal, and then all the little kakanin are basically rice cakes that you can also have that are traditionally like Filipino rice and coconut desserts. So we'd always have those also just like around, but truly during like the holidays, especially like for special occasions, I feel like Filipino desserts, I don't think you can escape them. Like at least in my home, we would always go to Goldilocks or Red Ribbon to pick up anything else that we'd want that we wouldn't make at home. But it's really nice to have something sweet all the time just to like offset like whatever savory food you're having for the meal. For us, like I think even incorporating cheese and like sugar on top of your ensaymada, which is like a sweet bread, is very common in like Filipino food. Just like the combination of all those sweet, sour, salty, everything that you like is in every part of the meal. So yeah, I have like a very like fond memory of always having desserts at home, but whether it's my mom making them or we get it from like Goldilocks or to go, it's really nice to just like have around to share with people who are visiting as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Abby. It's clear that desserts are much more than just sweet treat in the Filipino culture. It's expression of celebration, community, and love. Now, moving on to your recipe development, what was your process for creating the inventive flavor combination in your book, and where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I like had a bunch of vintage like Filipino cookbooks that I've collected over the years. And then like an interesting thing I did was basically go to every dessert section of every single book and kind of like see, okay, like I wrote down in like a spreadsheet every single type and like how many of them overlapped of like, oh, leche flan was mentioned 10 times across like 70 something books or so. That was like one kind of like scientific aspect of it that I basically had done. But at the same time, I thought of all the different flavors, not just like Filipino, but like Western flavors that I love. And I guess American is so broad that I would say that like I've definitely incorporated a lot of like fusion concepts of like, Asian fusion. Like for one kind of recipe, I had like this like tamarind, also like tahine snickerdoodle that's also inspired by like a Filipino savory dish called sinigang. So it's like sour tamarind, very like sour, but also has like a kick from the tahine. But there is so much play that I like to incorporate into my desserts that I don't know. I guess like I had such many notes apps full of like ideas that I had, and then just had it all like also in Google Docs. So technically, it was a lot of just going back and forth, like typing away on my phone or my laptop. But really getting into recipe development, I think for me, because I'm a self-taught baker, a lot of it is trial and error. Like I will literally mess up many times. And I think that's okay because I think you learn as you write and cite in a weird scientific method in a way. Like every trial that I wrote where something went slightly wrong, you make a slight adjustment next time to make it better. And it actually really helped me in the process of making the cookbook. I just like was okay with like some things taking longer than others. Like some trials were 5 and others were 3 or 2. And it felt really encouraging as I kept going that one by one, like 75 recipes goes by faster than you think. So yeah, it was a long process, but also felt very haphazard and short at the same time.
Mm, thank you so much for sharing that, Abby. How do you balance honoring traditional Filipino desserts with your desire to innovate and create new recipes?
I think it's always hard. I know, like, sometimes, like, that is a criticism I do get as just, like, a first generation, like, Filipino American, where my parents are both, like, immigrants, and they also have their own kind of, like, ideas of what Filipino food should be like. But I think that, like, over time and also, like, I guess, like, being able to share desserts with other people, like, through the book and through also physically during pop-ups and during the, pasalubong boxes, I've realized that people, like, see the heart of what you're trying to convey in, like, your desserts, and it's like a piece of you going out to someone else, and so I really think that at the heart of it, despite, like, all the different influences that come from my own upbringing, not necessarily always in the Philippines, but here in America, people really know that, like, you can taste it, it looks really different, but you can parse out elements of, like, whether it's my adobo chocolate chip cookie recipe where there's bay leaf, soy sauce, and even a little bit of vinegar that people can kind of identify that, oh, this is meant to be like this, but I respect that kind of interpretation of Filipino cuisine. So I just try to go with it with a grain of salt and just tell people, this is my background and it heavily influences what I make. But everyone coming from all different parts of the globe have different ideas of what Filipino food is. So I just like, that's what I to each their own. Don't yuck anyone's yum is my mentality, really.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful answer, Abby. It's really inspiring to hear how you navigate a delicate balance between tradition and innovation, and how it's such an important part of your culinary identity. Before we dive into the live demonstration, I just have one more question for you, Abby.
Of course.
I'd love to explore a little bit about your personal connection with food. As someone born in America to parents from Pampanga, how has your heritage influenced your culinary style and the recipe featured in your book?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thing that a lot of people that when you're both Filipino and they know that you're from Pampanga, it's like usually the home of like a lot of really great and amazing cooks. Like that's what people kind of are known for in Pampanga. So it is a kind of a nice kind of badge of honor that I have as like parents both coming from that province and everything. And so for me, like there are definitely some recipes, like one from my dad, one from my mom that kind of like it's theirs that I kind of had to like pull out of them because they don't write down measurements or anything. And so out of the 75, those are two of them that you'll see that are really pretty much like their base. And then I add a little bit of my own twist to them. But there are definitely regional, like amazing desserts in the Philippines that I feel like is a whole different cookbook, to be honest, like that you could even write about, even just like sticky rice desserts, like that is its own kind of category. So I was really happy to kind of incorporate some of that, especially in a whole chapter in the book in the very near the beginning, the Kakanin chapter. So you'll see like elements of like Kapampangan influence in it, but there's definitely other regions too kind of represented in the book.
Thank you so much, Abby, for sharing that. I have really enjoyed learning about your journey and the thoughtfulness behind your recipes. Now, let's see those amazing ideas into action. We're so excited to learn how to make your ube macapuno molten lava cakes. Please take it away, Abby.
Okay, everyone. All right. So we have my other phone is going to be recording more of like my hands and pans action. But basically, we're gonna go ahead and start with what you need for a very successful, basically like any molten lava cake recipe. If you need to get something out of a pan without any parchment paper, I have this Pam baking spray. I could have also done this, I guess. But it actually comes with the flour attached, like not attached, but it's part of it. So it's really good for like easy release after baking. So I'm just gonna spray these generously. So you want to make sure they come out of the pan. And then we're going to go ahead and start with the first part of the process. So usually molten lava cakes start with a base of like chocolate and butter. And today we're going to go ahead and use white chocolate chips and then also unsalted butter. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down just to unwrap this stick of butter, but you'll still see me over here. And we're going to go ahead and use my microwave to go ahead and melt this down. I try to keep it as easy as possible in the recipes where I'm like, you could have also done a double boiler, but I don't know. I'm just gonna zap it in the microwave and you do it for pretty much 30-second intervals. So you make sure it doesn't like, I don't know, it could explode. So not like and like too much, but it definitely would maybe explode some chocolate on the walls of your microwave if you leave it in too long or burn your chocolate eventually. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here for 10 seconds. But honestly, it probably might take longer than that in here. Um, I know this is
Abby,
not.
there is a question. Are
Oh,
you using ramekins?
oh, which ramekins I'm using, or what size?
Oh,
Oh,
uh, the two that you have. Oh, wait,
oh,
I gotta ask Sherry. Um, those are the two sizes you have?
yes, they're. I think these are 6 ounces. I want to
Six
say
ounces. Okay.
these are 6 ounces.
Are they the same?
Yes,
The
they're.
two that, oh, okay, sorry. One is bigger to me. Okay, 6 ounces ramekins. Okay.
See where we're at here. We still need to go a little bit further. But yeah, please feel free to keep asking questions as this part isn't that the most exciting part of the recipe. But I guess to show y'all, it's really helpful if you mise en place for any recipe you're doing, especially for this where I'm truly the one teaching you how to make this. But even if you're not doing a tutorial, I think you should definitely have everything you need measured out just so when you're doing the recipe, you don't feel chaotic and then you forget something, you have to dash out to get something from the store in the middle of a recipe is what you want to avoid. Um, but if yeah, like so everything I have for the recipe is basically out here in little cups. Keep tracking this. Make you get a nice little tour. Okay, I'm gonna start mixing this a bit. So it's melted quite a bit, but sometimes you know, like help it along with your spatula. Here we go. Okay. So I'm just mixing it in here. So you just want to see as long as it's nice and smooth. I know it's like a little bit more, all you see is kind of the buttered pool right now, but pretty much everything is melted. And then in this part of the process, I'm also going to go ahead and add in ube halaya and also ube extract. So basically, you go ahead and add this in. I might just put this down briefly to kind of scrape it down, but you'll see me do the action over here. And then I'll start mixing this again. But yeah, so yeah, this ube extract also has kind of a bit of like a violent tint to it, so make it super, super purpley. But ube halaya is basically just ube jam.
Abby,
That's
there's a question from Leslie. Can
oh
you
yeah.
show the packaging of the ube?
Oh yeah, let me pull that out for you. I want to go in my fridge. 1 second. Okay, let's see. This is the one I got. My apologies, you're just seeing everything. But this one is Endi's Best. I think, or no, this is not. It's gold medal brand. My bad. Yeah. Sometimes I just get whatever is available at my Filipino grocery store. It's probably the easiest place to get it is if you luckily have a seafood city nearby. You might have more options too of the variety of brands you can use. But I'm just gonna go ahead and keep stirring this. If there's any other questions? Oh, my apologies. Let me put this down somewhere.
Sherry said cannot see the table or on her phone. I do see
Oh, my
you
table.
stirring.
Oh, do you see it now?
I see that you're stirring. Yeah,
Oh,
I do see it now. Yes.
okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and now add actually another step here is egg yolk
Eggs.
and 1 whole egg. So go ahead and mix this in. And then also we have powdered sugar that we're also going to add in this part of the process. Okay, so this is 2 tablespoons, but you have the measurements too once you make this at home if you're not already right now. So you just want to make sure this is all nice and smooth. And this is pretty much a 1 bowl recipe. Can you use regular yam in place of the jam? Let me double check. Is that what the oh, okay.
Can you use regular yam in place of ube?
Oh yeah, do you mean just like yeah, if you're talking like just regular if it's just like the fresh ube is what you're maybe
I
talking
believe so. Yeah, the fresh
you
ube, fresh
basically
egg.
just
Yeah.
roast it, to make sure it's, like, all cooked and, like and smooth, and I would say maybe you might have to add a little bit more sugar then if that's the case, if you're going to use it just straight up, just because I know the jam already kind of uses some sugar in the prepackaged version of the halaya. So that might be the only difference, but you can definitely use, like, fresh mashed ube or yam instead. Okay, so this is nice and smooth, I believe. Okay, so then once you see this consistency like this, I'm gonna go ahead and add some all-purpose flour. This is half a cup. And then also I'll add half a teaspoon of kosher salt. There you go. And then once this is nice and smooth, we're honestly pretty much done and ready to put it in the ramekins. But let me get this nice and smooth really quick. I know it's kind of harder having this one-handed, two-handed operation. In hindsight, maybe I'll get one of those like really fancy selfie sticks or something to do it, but it's nice. You guys are kind of getting 2 points of views from here. Let me just put this down really quick so I can thoroughly set it or thoroughly mix it. But here it is right now. So you just want to make sure there are basically no like flour streaks remaining once you're done mixing. I think mine has just like a little bit left that I want to get out. But yeah, so once that is all mixed to my liking and your liking as well, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my spatula. It's always kind of good to scrape the bowl from the bottom whenever you're mixing a dough or a cake batter, because sometimes the lumps of flour can be stuck down there. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with a little folding motion just to get anything that might be hiding from the bottom of the bowl. And then once, okay, now I'm happy with it. I will show what it looks like now here. Okay.
Epi, I have a question. Is it possible to overmix the batter?
Oh, yeah, I would say, like, you wanna kinda quit once it's fully like, you're happy with it, it's, like, smooth and free of flour streaks, because if you overmix your batter, you'll tend to have, like, maybe a drier, denser kind of a cake. So anytime you're mixing flour, you're actually well, into any kind of baked good, you're increasing kind of, like, the gluten, and you're making it kind of more dense every time that you keep on mixing. So it's kind of a fine balance of you want it to be incorporated, but not over mixed. So you don't want like a tough cookie or cake. So yeah, here, I'm gonna go ahead and sorry, I can't show this. I need 2 hands for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and you know what, never mind. I'll use this. So this is also my trusty tool sometimes. I love to use like a cookie batter or like a ice cream scoop sometimes for cleaner kind of transfer from bowl to ramekin or cupcake tin. So it kind of helps it with evenly kind of putting it all into. So you just want to make sure you're evenly distributing the batter from here into the next 2 ramekins. So at some point I might have to transfer back, but yeah, it kind of feels like less mess around the corners and stuff that you get when you end up pouring just straight out of the pan. But don't worry, sorry, I might have to do this again. Sorry. But I will get this done once I can put it in the oven. So I am going to kind of do this. There you go. Okay, so you can kind of see this way. I'm almost done scooping, I swear. But this is honestly a really good recipe for like a date night or something where you only have like a couple people, like just one other person over or like a friend or anything. Just because it's kind of like a cute reveal when you immediately eat it out of the oven. Um, but also like it's just like a really kind of makes me nostalgic for like some of those like old school restaurants that would do kind of like old, molten lava cakes. I think that's like a whole plot point in Chef, that movie with what they call it. It came out like a few years ago now, but it's really funny when he like has like a whole meltdown over molten lava cakes at his restaurant. But yeah, that's like the part of the inspiration for this bake. So right now I'm just kind of like jiggling it to make sure it's completely flat. And once it's before it goes into the oven. But yeah, this is what they look like pre-bake. And now we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven at 425 degrees for 11 to 14 minutes until basically it's pretty much set on the top. But when you take them out, it'll jiggle a little bit, but you should see that it's pretty much set up, but on the inside it should still be molten. So I'm just gonna put that in the oven really quick, but I will be back shortly. Ah, okay, everything's fine. All right, I'm gonna set my timer, but we can still chat as we're waiting. Oh, oh, um, okay, I'll do 12 minutes just to be safe. Okay. 10 new messages. Oh my goodness, did I say everything? Oh.
Sorry, I was muted. I was
No, I'm like, "Oh,
talking and
no."
then I didn't know that I was muted. I want to say thank you for the wonderful demonstration.
Oh,
I
no.
can't
No,
wait for them to come out from the oven. I see a
yes, no,
question
they'll
from the
definitely come out in time for the end of our video. But, oh, I saw someone missed the
yes,
oven time. It's
yeah.
425 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. For how long?
Oh, for how long? So, you bake it for 11 to 14 minutes,
Okay.
just until you see it set, and
Okay.
we'll do a reveal later too.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, really important to preheat your ovens thoroughly. Sometimes I think I usually go with at least 20 minutes for my oven, but everyone's ovens are so different, so it's hard to say, but it also leads to more even bake if you're have a fully preheated oven, because sometimes if you notice like if it's too cold going in, then it probably take longer for you to bake it. So just like these little helpful tips for any kind of bake you're doing.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
So please keep putting your questions in the chat, and I will be reading out your questions. And let's see. While we wait for more questions to come from the audience, I have some question for you, Abby.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a personal favorite recipe from your book? What makes it special to you?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite recipes that it's kind of obvious though, but even though it's on the cover and stuff, is the Halo Halo Baked Alaska. I think I was really proud of myself for that one because I before that point never made. I was super intimidated by baked Alaskas from watching Great British Bake Off. I'd always be like, "Oh no, like it's gonna melt. I'm so scared." And like it honestly just felt like one of the things that, or one of the recipes that I saved till the very end to develop. But at the same time, it was so like rewarding to kind of get it done and to feel like, "Oh, this is definitely, like, the epitome of me," to, like, for Filipino American fusion of, like, a halo halo, inspired baked Alaska. So, yeah, that was one that I really loved. Oh, sorry, oh, I see some okay, can you show the packaging of the Makapuno strings? Let me pull that out. That's very helpful as well. Let me see. Oh, okay. This one I have is a really big one, but it's Pinoy Fiesta brand. I think I even have more in my pantry, but let's there's another brand here. Oh, Indi's Best. That's why I was confused. Here's another one. But yeah, I definitely just check out what you have at your local Filipino grocery store. Um, but let me see. Do unmold or eat from the ring pan? Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, when serving, you unmold it. So I hope to show you that today successfully. But basically, you unmold it, and then we're going to decorate with powdered sugar on top. So we're gonna put a little sprinkle, and then we're gonna put the maca puno string, so like a mound of it, and then like whipped cream and like a cherry on top for serving.
Thank you so much, Abby. While we wait for more questions to come from the audience, I have more question for you.
Yeah.
Um, okay, we want to know about some of the challenges you faced while developing your recipes. What were some of the hurdles, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I was first even pitching the book out, like, so my agent, basically, once it was a finished proposal, sent it to different editors at different publishing houses. It just felt like I was kind of discouraged by a lot of no's. I definitely didn't get a lot of, I don't know, I think it was for me, I was very much so early on in even my baking career, technically online, that they would always look at my following count. At the time was like 2,000 or 3,000 followers on Instagram, and sometimes I would get no's just based on that, and it was not about the concept, it wasn't about, like, the integrity of the ideas in Mayumu, it was just, like, literally just people trying to see if something is profitable based on followers alone, which I'm really happy again, like, it worked out for me. I will say that was honestly a little discouraging, though, because I think that a lot of great ideas come from people that not necessarily are like focused on building a following or anything, just have really amazing like baking or cooking backgrounds and stuff. That kind of part sucked, but I will say powering through, I really got an amazing editor. My editor, Sarah Kwok, is Korean American. So I think having someone who is also Asian American was super helpful. That was like super like on top of it, of making sure that my ideas never got diluted down. And she never kind of ever whitewashed any of my concepts, period. So it was really, really nice and felt like very a blessing to honestly go through the book as it happened. It turned out the way that I had wanted from the beginning.
Thank you so much, Abby. I see two questions from the chat.
Yeah.
Do you know why Makapuno strings are also called coconut sport?
It's so strange. Honestly, sport is a weird way to I see it too on this label, coconut sport strings, but it's basically like mutant coconut for an explanation. Like sometimes like the young coconut and they'll become and you open it and it'll come out very jelly-like. So this is what makapuno is, like the inside of a young coconut fruit. And it's kind of like it's a delicacy, and so they've been trying to kind of basically now breed for that specifically, which is so interesting. Sport, I'm not 100% sure why it's called that, but you will often find that as like an explanation of what it is. So yeah, sweet coconut sport strings is what you might see it as too.
Okay,
Oh,
a question from Alexia. Are you always in the process of developing new recipes, looking at possibly writing another cookbook? You mentioned sticky rice recipes earlier.
oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I'm keeping my phone for the timer. But I feel like I'm always kind of in the process of developing recipes sometimes for maybe not a cookbook all the time. Like I'm kind of heavily considering that in 2025 to kind of think back of what now I want to do after post Mayumu success and everything. But it's really helpful. Sometimes I do occasionally freelance work for magazines or even zines, like friends that make their own independent kind of publications. And if like last year, for example, doing like Christmas cookie concepts. I did one for Cake Zine, which was like a guava candy. So those green wrapper candies that you get usually after like having takeout. Doing like basically you do a shortbread and then you put crushed guava candy on the inside and then also like leaking moy powder. So like the very tart kind of like plum like like, it's like fruit seasoning from Hawaii, so there's, like, that sour element, but also it's, like, a really beautiful, like, star-shaped cookie. So that's I always feel inspired by, like, whether it's, like, a prompt from a magazine or something that I just want to do for myself, I think it's always ongoing. Ooh.
Okay, you answered this question already, I think, but maybe you can say it again. What is your favorite
Yeah.
recipe from your cookbook?
Oh, yeah, my favorite recipe, well, I think that we saw the cover a lot too, but this is the, Hala Hala Baked Alaska, and yeah, I don't think I ever explained the layers, but there's a coconut sponge cake at the very bottom, and then this is just like a Swiss meringue that you torch on the outside, and then this is, the little bits and pieces you see here are from, like, Hala Hala mix, which has, like, nata de coco and also, like, red bean, yellow bean, so whatever toppings you usually put in your Hala Hala, and then this is ube and mango ice cream. So yeah, this recipe I'm really, really proud of. Even though I will say it takes the longest to make in the book, it's really a showstopper kind of a recipe if you want to impress people too.
Thank you, Abby, for sharing that. Are there any specific cooking techniques or tools you find essential for making the recipes in your book?
Ooh, yeah, I will say that it's very helpful to have, if you do have, what's the word? Let me see. Like different, there's definitely like a bit of like glutinous rice and rice flours in the book that are shown around and stuff that you might need. I will say like having like ube products, whether it's like the ube extract we're using and the ube halaya are very, very helpful for making a lot of like those like vibrant ube purple recipes. But let me think what else is also important. It's kind of nice that I feel like you can kind of get away with like, okay, like there are definitely frozen or preserved items in like Filipino like pantries, especially like this coconut string and also the hala hala mix I was talking about in the recipe for the cover of the book. So it is nice to have around for a while. So in case like, you don't want to make the hala hala recipe yet, you can always have that can or I mean that jar of preserved kind of ingredients around for until you're ready to bake. So I would say like just find your favorite local Filipino grocery store, and that is like going to be your go-to place for a lot of the recipes in Mayumu. but otherwise, like, it's totally fair to also look online, and there are now more places that deliver ingredients to your door, which I really like too. Oh,
Are
let's see.
there any ingredients that you usually make homemade instead of buying from the store?
Ooh, okay. Any ingredients that you usually make homemade and stuff. Honestly, the halaya, though I showed like I didn't make it for this, it does really help to make that from scratch. And I in the book there's actually like three different options of how to make it from home. But if you have the frozen grated yam, which is like the ube that's in your freezer section, or if you have powdered dehydrated ube, you can basically just like cook and cook it out with either coconut milk or evaporated milk, and then you can cook that with like some condensed milk and make it as it basically makes it the consistency of your ube halia, the same as you would usually get from the jar, but it's just a little bit easier, I would say, to have that in bulk ish. So yeah, that's one of the ingredients that I would say is homemade that is helpful to make. Let me see. Ooh,
Is it
sorry,
time?
this 1 more minute on
One
my.
more minute. Okay.
Oh, I know, so exciting.
It's a comment from Alexia. I
Oh.
appreciate that you look for ways to make things easier, like using the microwave. I'm more likely to make something that's not a lot of steps.
Oh, thank you, Alexi. Oh, so sweet. I do try. And honestly, it's a selfish thing too sometimes. Like I really don't like to wash a lot of dishes if I have to, but sometimes, it's inevitable, but whatever I can do to make your life easier. I think that's what recipe developers and cookbook authors really strive to do because, you can make as many beautiful recipes as you want, but I think when it's accessible to people at home, that's when you start seeing people, repost and like do things and tag you, and that's really humbling and nice. Oh, my handle at the desk. Thank you, Laura. You're so quick on it. Oh yeah. Oh, Tanya. Yeah, you understand. You're basically seeing my kitchen as is. This is no. I can actually reach the other point of the wall too, but it is quite small, so we make it work. Let me see. I have 5 seconds left, so I'll bring y'all to the oven soon. I did it for 12 minutes, basically. That was just kind of in the middle of 11 to 14. But let's see what's happening here. I turn on the light. Okay. Oh, okay. So that's why we also have the pan in there, so to catch any runoff from the butter spilling out. Let's see. Let me see. Sorry, I have to do this in a two-handed situation, but I just have to like see what it looks like when I jiggle it a bit. I will show you once it's out of the oven if it's safe to take out. Second, see what's happening here. Okay. So I think it still needs a little bit more time. I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes. Just so okay. Thank you for your patience as this is a live baking tutorial. 2
Okay,
more
so while we wait, I have some more question for you, Abby. I'm curious, did you include any family or community recipes in your book? If so, what's the story behind them?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier that like two of the recipes are not. Oh, actually, there's another recipe that I didn't even get to talk about, but I have a chai leche flan in the recipe. And so it's my dad's recipe is the flan aspect of it. And Filipino leche flan is different from some other versions, just it's very dense and super, it's like I've used like 10 egg yolks in like one recipe, so it is very, very heavy in that sense, but super silky when you cut into it. And then in the second part of the recipe, the chai, my friend Megan, she asked her grandma, her nani, for her chai masala recipe, and so that's included in the book as well. And that was really special because I know, like, for me, like I'm, don't come from like an Indian background or anything, but it is really nice to like honor my family, like my friend's family, through that recipe and also my own family. And so I feel like this is kind of like the beauty of the fusion aspect of my food is just like combining different cultures, hopefully in a respectful way, never appropriation. I never hope to do that, but it is really nice to kind of give space and honor different kinds of cuisines in my book as well.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
So, for those who are eager to try their hand at Filipino desserts, what tips do you have for home cooks who are looking to experiment with these recipes?
Yeah, I guess my biggest tip is to, it's very cliche, but I think patience is really important when you're baking. I think it's like and whatever you're starting at and whatever starting point, I think it can be discouraging sometimes when something doesn't turn out perfectly, and it still happens to me to this day. But it just means that you just got to keep going and you keep learning from that experience. And I just hope that you just don't give up if one thing doesn't go right, because I have had many things go wrong, and I hope not today. But oh, my timer went off really quick. Let me just pull them out very quickly. I think this is good. Okay, this is good now. Okay, so there we. Right, I'm going to grab my phone so you can kind of see what's happening here. So it is pretty much set at the very top. There's a little bit of jiggle. I might have to not do surgery, but I need to grab one, and then sometimes it helps if you run the edges of your molten lava cakes with a butter knife, just if you're a little anxious. I'm gonna wait a minute though, just so it can kind of cool a little bit before I start doing that. But I will kind of like run my knife around the edge just so it has a clean release. But ideally, because of all that Pam spray that we use, it should come out pretty easily. But I will show that just in a minute that it'll happen.
Okay. Looking ahead, are there any upcoming projects you are excited about that you would share with us?
Yeah, I think so. Next year, I really hope I've been saying this for the last 6 months, but I've been really wanting to start like a show, like a mini series that's on Instagram. So just like a video series of trinket. It's called Trinket Dish. And I wanted to like explore going to different friends' apartments, especially in New York, and talk to them about their favorite trinkets. And my best friend Angeli, is producing for me. So basically, filming and helping me set up the storyboard and everything for every single episode. But I'm working on it. I will say it is coming sometime 2025. But that is my biggest thing so far. But this year has been such a blessing to do these kinds of events, and still continue to promote the book, even though, yeah, book tours feel like it's so different for every book, and I feel like very lucky that I've had the traction enough to do events even today. So thank you all for coming. I was so surprised. I was like, I hope people come, but it's so nice that people still want to see recipes from Mayumu. So thank you for your time today. It's so special to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Abby. It's
Yeah,
always exciting to hear what's on the horizon. We're looking forward to seeing your next project.
thank you. Okay, well, this might be the moment of truth, everyone. I'm going to grab one and I'm going to do the unmolding. This is kind of a little scary, but don't be afraid. I just think it's gonna be a hot plate. So I'm gonna grab the plate that you're gonna serve it on. I'm gonna grab it closer so I'll put a little trivet as well. Whew, okay, here we go. Ready. So let me see this. Okay, I'm gonna start. Sorry, now you're gonna see my face as much, but we're gonna try to focus down here. Okay, prayers and thoughts. As I Oh, so you see it's, like, very smooth around, so I think it'll unmold pretty easily. So that helps it just help it along. And then I'm gonna use an oven mitt. Okay, I don't really think I need it on this one, but I'm gonna use it on this. Okay, I hope this is a fantastic unmolding, but maybe I'm just really okay. Everyone, woo! Okay, I can rearrange that. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully, okay. It's a little slippery. Please don't. Okay. Let me grab a paper towel. It's very greasy, so yeah, make sure you always put that little pan like, putting the ramekins on a little baking pan is super helpful because you don't want this butter to burn at the bottom of your pan. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, I'm just gonna hold it and hope for the best. Ah! Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. It's so much slipperier than I thought. Okay. Woo! Okay, it's out. We did it.
Yay!
I know, okay, woo. Alright, so I didn't mean to be, like, as stressed as I was, but I was, like, just wanted to build a suspense a little bit. Um, But yeah, as you can see, I can finally like put my phone, but the middle kind of it'll start oozing once we start breaking into it. But this is where we get to decorate a little bit. So I'm going to unfortunately have to do this again, but we're going to go this way. And I have a little bit of reserved powdered sugar. And then we're going to I use this sifter thing. So it helps it with like a nice, no clumps of powdered sugar, but just a nice little dusting. Okay. Oh, okay, I did that by accident. But then we're also going to add the makapuno. So it looks like this over here. I'm just gonna put about a tablespoon. A little bit more is okay, but there we go. I put it in the little divot. And then I'm going to grab some whipped cream. One moment, please. Okay. You can also make this homemade, but like it's really easy with just like having ready whip available. And then I put a little cherry on top as well. But yeah, this is the finished dessert. We did it.
Yay! There's a question from
Yeah.
Sarah. Do you don't you have to wait for it to cool
Oh,
before
so
you
I
put?
did wait like a minute for this unmolding part, but technically once you start, you can actually let this cool for a little. I think I was too nervous for having it done before time. No, we have like 11 minutes. I should have been so nervous, but you can let it cool for a couple minutes longer just so it doesn't like burn your tongue when you eat it. But I just wanted to show y'all like at least the breaking apart of the once you tear into it. So I'll do this just for show. Oh,
Hmm,
okay, but now I can see it kind of leak out
yes,
slowly.
lava.
It's a slow ooze, but it's happening.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so glad.
It looks really delicious.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just basically with like molten lava cakes, it's a little bit of not undercooking, but just like so it's not overcooked. If when you overcook it, basically you won't get that molten lava center. Um, sorry, can't resist. It's really good right now to eat. But this is kind of one of the recipes you want to serve almost immediately, just because it's real. I've never really had it work where it just doesn't have the right sense of like oozy and grandiose factor if you're not doing it fresh. Um, but yeah, let me see. I'll put this down really quick.
It's only 12 minutes. You put it in the oven for 12 minutes, really
Yes, yeah,
fast.
we put in 12, and then I did additional 2 minutes. Just it wasn't completely done yet, but
Mm,
yeah, it was so fast. Yeah, it's so much faster when you're not talking and explaining it to. I really think this you could potentially get this done in like 30 minutes or less. So it's a really good recipe for an easy, no need for stand mixer, also or heavy machinery kind of recipe too.
I see a lot of thank you in
Mhm.
the chat. I hope
Oh,
you, yeah, it looks delicious, fairly
thanks,
easy to make. Yes.
Leslie. Oh, y'all are so. Oh my God. Do you have
Um,
any other questions? Like, I'm so happy
yes,
to answer.
yes. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat. I hope you all enjoy Abby's demonstration and our conversation as much as I did. Um, Thank you once again for being here today, Abby, and for sharing your culinary journey and insights. I see a lot of thank you
Oh, thank
in the
you.
chat. Congratulations on your book and and your award, James B. Award. Um, and I want to thank everybody for joining and for your thoughtful question. I hope you all leave feeling inspired to experiment with new flavors and techniques in your own kitchens. I encourage everyone to check out Abby's book.
Oh,
Oh, there's a
I
question.
have smaller ramekins. Could I still make maybe less time? Yes, I would say depending on how small your ramekins are, less time, and then you'll definitely have more yield then of hopefully more of the molten lava cakes. But yeah, I would just say less time and also make sure you have more than two readily available.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of thank you in the chat. I want to encourage everyone to check out Abby's book. I just put the link to the library's record for her book in the chat. There's ebook and also print book that you can check out. Um, just a reminder, I will be sending out a recording to this session to everybody in about 30 minutes, along with a feedback survey. Please fill out the survey so we can continue to improve our programming. Um, Thank you again, everyone. Until next time, happy baking, and may your kitchen be filled with joy and amazing flavors.
Yes.
Have a
Happy holidays, everyone.
happy
Thank you
holidays,
so much.
everybody.
Take
Bye
care.
bye. Take care.
Bye.